Alright, now that I'm all warmed up, what better way to get back into the swing of things than with a joke? Yeah, I get it. Making fun of Sonic is the obvious thing to do, but to be fair, he was asking for it. You don't do this and then be surprised when people laugh at you. He's been through it all, and I've been around for some of it. I was a big fan of Sonic even before I played my first official Sonic game, and when I did, honestly, I'm surprised I stuck around for this long. That isn't the full story, though. Sonic and the Black Knight was the first Sonic game I had an actual copy of. The first official Sonic game I've ever played, period, was the Sonic 06 demo. Again, why did I stay? It was so much fun as a kid. I played the hell out of it until my Xbox 360 suffered the red ring of death. Basically polio in the form of a red light. Once this happened, my 360 was pretty much unusable. I was this close to asking my parents to buy me the full game, too. Part of me feels like it was God doing me a favor. The rest of me is a little angry because I ended up buying it myself like a decade later. I was a kid, my parents were unaware this was a widespread issue. Once my console kicked the bucket, that was that. I don't have my original console anymore, not that it'd be of any use nowadays. And I've recently bought another one, but that's not the point. That's one weird looking me. I've played through all of these and most of these. There are definitely games in the series I really want to get to, including this one, which is considered a must play by anyone who dare call themselves a Sonic fan, but I feel it's only appropriate to start where it all began. Sonic the Hedgehog, the video game, from 1991. Please just work with me here. This game was developed by the newly formed Sonic team and published by Sega to combat Nintendo's Mario. It was to feature a brand new mascot for the company because their current mascot, Alex Kidd, just wasn't cutting it. They went through a few designs before finally settling on a hedgehog. The character was meant to be fast and would gain speed by rolling into a ball. Hedgehogs kinda do that. Sure. He was given shoes like Michael Jackson with the color scheme of Santa Claus, an attitude like Bill Clinton, a dark blue color to match the Sega logo, a shitty name. This guy was beginning to look like the rodent to rival Nintendo. His name was Mr. Needle Mouse originally, but was changed to Sonic to better represent his speed. A few ideas to flesh out his character were thrown around, like making him part of a band, which would later be used in... and giving him a human girlfriend, which would later be... In the end, they scrapped most of the ideas they had for him in order to keep his identity simple. He's a fast blue rat, we don't need anything else. Oh, and one of the initial Sega mascot designs ended up becoming the basis for the main antagonist of the game, named Dr. Eggman in Japan and Dr. Robotnik everywhere else. Sonic the Hedgehog released on the Sega Genesis in North America on June 23rd, 1991, and on the Mega Drive and PAL regions in Japan the following month. Sega of America made the game a pack-in title for the console, gave it a price cut, and just like that, Sonic, and the Genesis for that matter, was a success. Sonic 1 had officially become one of the most important games of all time, paving the way for a series that still, to this day, exists. Since then, the game's been re-released so many times. I don't own a Genesis, but I have options. I'll be primarily looking at the Sega Ages re-release. As far as I can tell, it's pretty much the Genesis original with extra options. By the way, there's no way to have pure black borders. Granted, the none option fills that role just fine, but there's very obviously a color gradient here, and that just makes me sad. Let's get that story out of the way. Dr. Robotnik is stuffing innocent little woodland creatures inside robots. Stop him. That's pretty much it. The controls is super simple. Other than the D-pad you use to move, the game is played with a single button. By hitting that button you can jump, and the ball form you take doubles as an attack. Actually, you can do damage to enemies anytime you're in this form, whether you're jumping in the air or rolling across the ground. As previously mentioned, Sonic as a character was meant to be fast, and that naturally carries over to the gameplay as well. Unlike other games of the same genre, Sonic the Hedgehog emphasizes momentum-based platforming. Since you don't have a run button, most of the time you're left to the mercy of the game's physics engine. Make use of those slopes to build up speed, because otherwise you're left with Sonic's relatively slow acceleration, which sometimes just isn't enough to get by. Once you get going, you can reach blisteringly high speeds. This is what makes Sonic the Hedgehog stand out from the rest of the crowd. But if you want to go fast in this game, you better have the stage memorized, because if you don't, you will get blindsided by something you didn't see coming. This is an argument I've seen made a lot. The design of Sonic games is inherently flawed because Sonic's speed causes players to run into obstacles they didn't have time to react to. However, while I get where they're coming from, honestly it's kind of a silly argument. During your first time through the game, you aren't necessarily supposed to speed through it without ever stopping. You get to that point by learning level designs. It's like trying to make your first time playing a game a speedrun and then saying it's the game's fault you keep running into shit. Once you know what each level has to offer, you get better and better at the game with each subsequent playthrough, going through each level faster and faster now that you have a better understanding of where the obstacles are and how to avoid them. It's an interesting design philosophy. The game encourages replayability by rewarding it with a better gameplay experience. Sure, Sonic is faster than most other platforming mascots, but when you get down to it, Sonic the Hedgehog is still a fairly standard platformer at its core. You run, jump, and defeat bad guys, make it to the end of each level to beat the game. Throughout the game, you'll collect these rings, and when you get hit by an enemy or an obstacle, you get knocked back and lose all your rings, at which point you scramble to pick back up as many as you can to defend yourself, because if you get hit with no rings, you lose a life. Even one ring is enough to save you from certain death. This may sound weird, but I'm not gonna lie. The ring mechanic might be my favorite thing about this game. It's so cool and unique. Most other games either give you a set number of hit points or make you collect power-ups that pretty much function as such. The game does have its power-ups though, and they're found in these monitors that either give you power sneakers for a speed increase, a shield that absorbs a single hit, invincibility, rings, or an extra life. You can also get an extra life by collecting 100 rings, and lives are valuable because once you lose your last life, you're back to the beginning of the game. Yeah, this is one of those games. I was struggling with the game when I first started playing it. I game overed 5 times and didn't even make it past the 4th stage, but after putting the game down and picking it back up the next day, I was able to beat it without having to restart the game even once, and it only took me about an hour and a half to do so. Even compared to some 8-bit games at the time, Sonic the Hedgehog is pretty short. Now, I have no issue with short games. If anything, I kinda prefer them. I couldn't care less how long a game is, so long as the experience I have playing it is an enjoyable one. I don't like this game very much. Sonic the Hedgehog is split up into 6 zones with 3 acts apiece, pretty much meaning there are 6 worlds with 3 levels in each of them, with each zone culminating in a boss fight at the end of the 3rd act. Zones in this game feel like they last way too long, but I can't tell if that's because I've been spoiled by later games that only host 2 acts within each zone, or if it's because I can't fucking stand half of them. Green Hill Zone, the first zone of the game. Green Hill's been in so many games at this point, and if it's not the stage itself that's being reused, it's the general aesthetic, but there's a very good reason for that. Green Hill Zone is a fantastic first level. This, in my opinion, is what a Sonic level should be. It's just filled with secrets and hidden goodies. If something catches your eye and you go out of your way to investigate, chances are you'll be rewarded for it. Green Hill also has multiple paths you can take to reach the end of the level, thanks to Sonic 1's level design being remarkably vertical compared to most other platformers. If you fall from an upper path, you'll likely end up on a lower, more dangerous path rather than outright dying, and from there you can keep working your way to the end. Once you get there, you can fight the first boss of the game, which is, you know, fine. Overall, Green Hill Zone was the perfect way to kick off the series in my opinion, and later games would take the ideas this level laid out and build upon them. Multiple ways to complete the stage, tons of secrets to find, and eventually the ability to go as fast as your little heart desires. Just a heads up, I'll be comparing the rest of the game to this stage often. Anyway, Green Hill set a pretty high standard already, so let's see what else we got. What is this? I thought Sonic was supposed to go fast, but he's just standing there. You marketed this game as being faster than any other platformer and that just stops after the first stage? That's like following up a firm handshake with a kick to the groin. The second zone of the game, Marble Zone, is terrible. So much waiting, and you can't go fast even if you already know the level layout because the game punishes you for trying to do so. You can run through chunks of the level if you don't care about your well-being, but for the most part, Marble Zone just requires you to wait, and wait, and wait. Unlike Green Hill, this zone is mostly linear, which would normally be fine, but once this happens, you aren't sent to a lower path or something like that. You're essentially sent backwards, forced to do that part of the level again because there is no other way to the goal. Marble Zone sucks, plain and simple, not just because it's slow, but because it's boring. It fails as a platforming stage, and it's even worse as a Sonic stage. It's everything Green Hill Zone isn't. It does have secrets to find, which is nice, but get this. I randomly found this secret here, but after finding it, you have to wait on this slow-moving block so you can make your way back to this slow-moving block you rode on to get to the secret in the first place, so you can wait on it again in order to make the jump necessary to progress the stage. After finally reaching the end of the 3rd act, you fight another boss that's, you know, fine. It can hurt you even after you defeat him. Next in line, please. Spring Yard Zone, and you know what? Not too bad. We're back to being more speed-oriented, not as much as Green Hill Zone, but certainly leagues above the previous stage. The level design isn't as tight as Green Hill either, but it's still pretty fun for the most part. There's springs all over the fucking place, bumpers all over the fucking place, words that make no sense all over the fucking place. Cope. Cope with what? Oh. Okay. How was I supposed to know there was a bottomless pit here? Before this point, falling would simply take me to another part of the level where I could proceed as normal, as it should be and has been. And yet here, at the end of Act 3, they decide now would be the time to start using bottomless pits. I never saw any bottomless pits prior to this, Why now? This inherent design flaw is the only major issue I have with what would otherwise be a really well-designed stage. Well, besides a few moments where I think the level design gets a little too Marble Zone-y for my liking, and the boss fight at the end is fine. Yeah, I'm starting to notice a bit of a pattern here. It's more unique than the previous ones, I guess, if only because the boss fight arena shrinks with every attack the Doctor attempts, but let's just move on. Labyrinth Zone, a water level. Labyrinth Zone is just as bad as Marble Zone, if not worse. Yeah, water levels aren't very fun in the first place, but this one's just fucking obnoxious. It's not like Sonic can swim either. Someone messed up there. When you're underwater, you're basically just playing the same game in slow motion. Who thought this was a good idea? It has more branching paths than Marble Zone, I guess, but for the most part, the zone is also pretty linear, which makes the name a goddamn lie. From what I can tell, the stage is supposed to be rather puzzle-centric, but other than this looping segment, which is, and I mean this with all my heart, neat. Labyrinth Zone's idea of a puzzle is pushing a button here and there to progress. Really, the only thing puzzling about this stage is the fact that it exists in the first place. The boss is unique, I can at least give it that. You don't even need to beat Robotnik, just climb for a bit and you're good. Next up is Starlight Zone, and this is much more like it. Multiple pathways, secrets, loops are back. I didn't even notice they left in the first place, but look, there they are. Starlight is a lot like Green Hill in terms of how satisfying it is to go through the stage, and in a Sonic game, that's something I value a lot. The boss here is pretty cool too, definitely my favorite one so far. Starlight, you did good. Not great, but good. Okay, there seems to be a pattern here. Let's see if Scrap Brain can break it. Scrap Brain Zone is the final proper zone of the game. It's pretty tough too. It may not be impossible, but Scrap Brain is definitely out for blood. It's at the very least fun. Until Act 3, when Scrap Brain decides it wants to be a Labyrinth, but worse. Anyway, after trudging through Labyrinth Zone Act 4, you jump on the spring and I guess we're at the final boss now. I guess the game is over. If you finish Act 1 or Act 2 of a zone with 50 or more rings and jump into the big ring at the end, you'll enter a special stage, and oh, these are special, alright. I'm not a fan. They're these trippy, rotating mazes that you need to navigate your way through. No, not to where it says goal. Who knows why those are labeled this way. You beat the special stage when you find the Chaos Emerald. There are 6 stages for each of the 6 emeralds. Yeah, only 6. The 7th one wouldn't exist until Sonic 2. When you collect all the emeralds, you have all the emeralds now. The ending sequence changes very slightly when you finish the game after having nabbed all the Chaos Emeralds, but come on, I can get flowers from my florist, I don't need to get them from my fucking Genesis. I'm gonna be honest, I never tried to get more than 2 of the emeralds because besides making me nauseous after spending too long in any one special stage, they just aren't very enjoyable. Does this look fun to control to you? Also, getting 50 rings here nets you a continue, which means if you game over, you can keep playing the game from the beginning of the act with 3 more lives instead of restarting the game. This is pretty much the only reason I even bothered with the special stages in the first place. I said earlier that Sonic the Hedgehog is a game that gets better and better the more time you put into it, since with each passing playthrough, you learn more and more about the game. It may seem like a redundant statement, like yeah, of course, you play the game more, you suck at the game less, but it's a point worth mentioning because when it comes to Sonic, it's literally the very basis of the game's design. Replayability is the name of the game here. Problem is, I don't want to replay it. Sure, it may be exhilarating to be able to beat a level of this game super quickly, but the process of getting to that point is the exact opposite. There are too many moments in Sonic 1 that I find unenjoyable or just downright boring, and I'm sorry. But sometimes the game is just plain fucking mean. Spikes can show up in places where you don't want spikes to be, and they can kill you in instances where you should be invincible. There are springs whose sole purpose are to send you backwards, usually into a dangerous hazard, which is the opposite of a good time. If you're moving at anything faster than a middling jog, you'll probably run into something you didn't mean to, but hey, there's always next time. I tried to jump on this badnik, but I ended up running up the wall, which took me out of my ball form and left me vulnerable, and overall, I'm just not having a very good time. Let's get a little more positive though. Sonic games, no matter the quality, have always excelled in 2 categories, the music and the visuals, and that tradition started as early as the first game. Sonic 1's soundtrack is amazing, without a doubt one of the best soundtracks of its generation. Marble Zone, Spring Yard Zone, Starlight Zone, it's all really good stuff. The visuals are great too, but like most things in this game, they kinda drop off after Green Hill Zone. The other zones don't necessarily look bad or anything, they just don't compare to the bright and vibrant colors of Green Hill. The sprites look nice and level environments look like what I imagined they're supposed to look like. I'm not exactly sure what I'm looking at here. Some level themes are a bit abstract, but nonetheless, none of that makes the game after Green Hill Zone look any less dull in comparison to, well, this. I guess it works for Marble and Labyrinth given the setting, but man, Green Hill Zone set expectations real high, didn't it? Also, I'm not the only one that thinks Starlight Zone looks straight up unfinished, right? Like, look at that. I just wish the definitive version of this game wasn't stuck on a fucking phone. Sonic CD got a remaster on mobile devices, consoles, and PC in 2011. And in 2013, Sonic 1 and Sonic 2 got the remaster treatment only on smartphones. These versions of Sonic 1, 2, and CD were developed by Christian Whitehead, the same guy who went on to make Sonic Mania. Sonic 1 on mobile is a great port. It's in widescreen, it includes the spin dash from Sonic 2, Tails and Knuckles are unlockable as playable characters. This version of the game isn't exactly, you know, perfect. But if you don't mind playing on a phone and you want to play the best version of Sonic 1, this is a great way to do it, not to mention cheap. It's free, assuming you don't mind ads showing up every once in a while, otherwise it's $2. It doesn't fix the fundamental issues I have with the game though, the level designs are still the same, so it's not really something I choose to boot up if I ever wanted to play something on my phone. The controls are just too uncomfortable for me. Not necessarily the game's fault, I've just never been a fan of mobile games, especially when they require me to use a virtual joystick and buttons, and this is no different. And I guess that was Sonic the Hedgehog. Suppose that leaves the all-important question, is the game good? The answer? Yeah. Sometimes. But does that necessarily mean the game is bad? Yeah, sometimes. I understand it may seem a bit harsh to be so hard on this game considering it's the first game in the franchise, but that's something I can't help because, well, I know what comes afterwards. I recognize its importance, I'd be stupid not to. There's definitely fun to be had here, but if I'm gonna recommend a Sonic game on the Genesis, I can tell you right now, Sonic 1 wouldn't be it. I think the game did a fantastic job creating the series I grew to love. The framework is there for a truly outstanding game, and I'm glad Sega and Sonic Team realized that. But after playing and completing it for myself, I'm sorry to say, but I didn't have much fun with this one. Judging this game on its own merits makes it easy to see why. I hated playing through about a third of the stages. About half of them were merely okay at best, and the remaining stage was the first stage. Leaving a good first impression is important, and Sonic 1 definitely did that, but... Actually, wait, hold that thought. Hello? Mm-hmm? Yeah. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Okay, bye. Yeah, it turns out the medallion on the title screen isn't even centered. I used to be indifferent towards this game, now I just fucking hate it.